Distinguished gentlemen and most fair ladies, this is International Master Camila Ciobanu and I welcome you on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for being here and watching my videos. I hope that you like all of them and that you can share them with your friends, and please remember to subscribe to this channel so that you will be notified as soon as I publish new ones. Okay, in this video I have selected such a beautiful game, the one played by Bobby Fischer against Mikhail Tal. They played it at the Candidates Tournament in 1959, and it is a very beautiful Sicilian, and in this video we will learn how to attack on diagonals, okay? Exactly how Tal taught us to. Okay, so enough with the introduction and let's jump right into the game. e4, c5, knight to f3, pawn to d6, we have a knight orf already, and here we are. Knight to f6, knight to c3. Okay, there's an attack and a defense on e4. It's important to take control of the b5 square, and Fischer develops the bishop on c4. Okay, so black will have to block that diagonal, and now since the d5 and b5 squares are protected by pawns, black can safely develop the queen on c7. Okay, a prophylactic retreating move on b3. Okay, and bishop e7, and here we go. White pushes the pawn up to f4. So his future plan will be to attack the pawn chain by pushing f5, and in this way white will attack 3 times on e6, and black will have to do something, either to push, obviously not to take, and in this way the bishop's diagonal will be opened. Okay, so black castles and white develops the queen on f3. Can you see that the queen from f3 looks on the diagonal? Okay, that diagonal has the potential of being opened by pushing the pawns. And here we go, queen to c7, defending the square e5 again for the second time. White castles, and finally b5. Black needs to make room for the bishop to be developed in fianchetto, and from that position it will attack together with the knight the central pawn e4. Okay, so it's time for white to start the attack, even before developing the dark squared bishop, because we don't know yet where that bishop will be needed. So f5. Of course, now black should not push the pawn directly, because the knight from c3 will be free to go to d5 once the knight from d4 is moved away from the imminent threat. Okay, so first of all, black will send the knight away from c3, and now the knight goes on the side, and we will see that throughout the whole game that position of the knight becomes very problematic for white. Okay, so now it's time to push and send the knight away, and can you see that the knight from a4 cannot get into the game, and the knight on e2 is passive as well. White has managed to open up the bishop from b3, but it has no other attacker to maybe bring an attack on f7. Okay, so bishop continues with the development and now increases the pressure on e4. White will have to defend that twice, and black finishes developing his pieces. The knight goes to d7, controlling the important square b6, that is a weak square for black. And of course, once white will develop the bishop on e3, white wanted to bring the knight on b6, from there jump on d5, but since the knight is on d7, that idea is not longer possible. And what is black going to do right now? It's very important to notice that black has a weak pawn on d6. It's a backwards pawn, and we know that the best move in the Sicilian, if I can say it like that, is to simply push the pawn to d5, get rid of that pawn, and after the trade with the pawn on e4, black remains with the passed pawn in the center. Okay, so black needs to find a way to push the pawn to d5. It's not possible for now because white has 3 attacks and black only 2 defenses. Okay, so black makes a very nice maneuver bringing the bishop up to c6 so that the queen can go instead. On b7, create a battery, increase the pressure on e4, and just support for the third time the push on d5. Okay, great. So let's see. Bishop f2, so that once the rook comes on e1, it will defend the pawn for the third time. And now we are at move number 17, and finally black can push d5. I really enjoyed this position so much. Okay. Okay, let's see how it continues. Can you see the knight on a4 can't jump on any of those squares, so it is still limited on the border. Okay, so now the focus goes in the center. Knight takes, and black will block the passed pawn with a knight in the center, but that knight has the potential of becoming, I mean, it's pinned, right? Black infiltrates, going on the weak square f4. The knight is supported by the pawn on f4, and now the knight on e4 becomes pinned. Okay, pawn to c4. What can white possibly want with this move? I think maybe push it up to c5 so that the knight can go to b6. Probably can be an idea. Okay, so what is black going to do right now? He wants to push the pawn to f5 and attack the knight, obviously, but there is a pawn on f5. So first of all, he has to get rid of it. Okay, so white will take, and finally f5 directly, attacking the pawn. And I like the two pawns that black has. One in the center, one next to it. They are very strong, one next to the other, shoulder to shoulder. Okay, so in order to get rid of the pin, white needs to do something quickly, and so it attacks the rook. Now black takes, and finally the queen moves away with a check, so with a tempo just in time to be able to move the knight away. Great. So finally white manages to bring the knight from the border toward the center, but already black has a big advantage. Can you see now the bishop on b3 is blocked? It has nothing to do on b3. And let's see, white will be very weak on the dark squares. Queen to c7 defending e5, the queen to e3 attacking it, and now black will simply continue and finish completely the development of his pieces, defending e5 very well, and now threatening the weak pawn on g2. So if the pawn moves up, simply knight g2 will take the rook, okay, because of the double attack. So white will simply defend it with the rook, so sacrificing it for the knight, check, queen takes. And now it's phenomenal how black continues from this point, because he sees some tactics coming. Okay, black exposes white's king. The knight goes to a6, taking the pawn, so an intermediate move, check on the diagonal. Okay, I want you to notice how strong black is on those two diagonals. So this is how we attack. We open the diagonals, we make sure we have bishop and queen to expose a king exactly on those diagonals. Okay, and now not only the diagonals were strong, black was strong on them, but now the g file is also open, and check. Now the king has to go, it can't go in the corner, okay, because of check on the diagonal again. Whoops, it can't go to f1 because of mate on g1, either with the rook or the queen, so it has to go on h3. Can you see the rook, the bishop, and the knight are completely out of the game? They cannot actively participate in defending the king. The king is locked on the h file, and so black does not concern himself with taking the knight even, but it's much more important to prepare the checkmate. Okay, black is threatening queen to h6 check, and then take on h5 checkmate. If the queen comes to h5 to block the check, then there's queen g2 check, king h4, queen h2 checkmate. So already white has nothing to do. Bishop to d1, move 33. so that after queen h6, white can play queen h5, but simply now bringing the third piece toward the king secures the win for black. Okay, there is the threat rook h6 with then checkmate in 2. Okay, so black's pieces are so strong against a king that cannot be properly defended in this endgame. Okay, my dearest chess friends, thank you for your attention. I hope that you enjoyed this video and all the lessons on this YouTube channel. So in this video we learned how to attack on diagonals, and I hope that you can use these principles in your own games and of course win them. I wish you all the best, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye.